This episode is brought to you by DistroKid.
With Amex Gold, you can experience the gold standard. You get access to exceptional dining, plus 4 times membership rewards points on eligible dining purchases. That's the powerful backing of American Express. Terms apply. Cap applies. Learn more at americanexpress.com/withAmex.
It's Throwback Thursday.
What up, everybody? Chris DeMakes A Podcast producer Chris Fafalius here, and it's once again time for a Throwback Thursday episode. This time, it's a throwback to a holiday classic episode. On December 13th of 2021, Shawn Harris of The Matches sat in for episode 81 of the show to discuss the writing and recording of one of my personal favorite holiday songs, December is for Cynics. This episode turned out awesome, and it made me love a song that I already loved even more. So you're in for a real treat here. But before we start, just a little reminder that we have a Patreon over at chrisdemakes.com where you can get weekly bonus episodes of the After Party podcast, early releases of new episodes of the main show, the unedited video of the episodes. That's something that a lot of people have asked for over the years, and lots more. And most importantly, your support of our Patreon allows us to continue making this show. So thanks, everybody. Once again, that's chrisdemakes.com. Go check it out. And here you go. Enjoy this episode with Shawn Harris from The Matches.
Hey, everybody. I'm here to spread a little holiday cheer to each and every one of you. Today's guest is Shawn Harris, lead vocalist for the Oakland, California band, The Matches. Together, Shawn and I break down the writing, recording, and inspiration behind their 2003 single, December is for Cynics, taken from the compilation album, A Santa Cause, It's a Punk Rock Christmas. It was awesome catching up with Shawn. We last saw each other around 15 years ago while on tour together, and it was like we didn't miss a beat, picking up right where we left off. He shares the story of working at a brand new studio with a new producer, and how this helped shape the overall vibe of the song. I'm not even sure Shawn realized how many different parts and layers were going on in this song until I started dissecting it. It takes you on a ride from note one until the end. The lyrics are cynical and admittedly pompous in parts, which I feel give the song a charm all its own. And how do you go from talking about ugly holiday sweaters and mocking people singing Christmas carols to referencing John Lennon's ghost and backwards messages from the Beatles? Well, somehow The Matches did. For all this and a bottle of NyQuil, stay tuned. Hey, hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes A Podcast. Hey, hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes A Podcast. Hey, hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes A Podcast. Hey, hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes A Podcast. What's up, Shawn?
Hi, Chris.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, I think maybe we last played a show in San Francisco at a venue I don't think exists anymore.
Yeah, and would that have been around 06, 07?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And who were we on the road with? I know we did. It was a tour together. I don't think it was a one-off show, was it? It was a couple shows, I thought.
Yeah, I think it was a few shows. Was it Goldfinger? Did we do a few shows with Goldfinger?
I man, it's so many moons ago.
Between us, I don't even remember. Yeah. Anyway,
but we have played together. We have history. And how are you? What's been going on?
Pretty. Oh man. Since 2007?
Since I last talked to you.
Let's go. Yeah, let's do the rundown by the year.
You got 1 minute condensed version, and then we'll jump in here.
All right, let's go. The Matches went on hiatus. I moved to Australia where they still had record deals. And then this is when everything went to streaming. Signed a record deal over there with a band called Maniac. Came back here, got married, moved into an Airstream. For 2.5 years, traveled around the country in that, looking for where we wanted to live, me and my wife and my dog, and then ended up in Joshua Tree. The Matches did a reunion, moved up back kind of close to home in the Bay Area where I live now in Half Moon Bay.
20 seconds
left. It put out, started 5 bands since then, but the Matches are still, if I ever want anybody to actually listen to what I'm doing, still get together with them once in a while. That's it.
That's awesome, man. So you are in California now.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, that was, I don't know if I could have done the last 14 years that quickly. Good job.
It's been pretty boring. So,
Well, I want to give the listeners a little backstory on you guys, and then I want to say a couple things about your band and about you in particular. The Matches formed in Oakland, California in 1997. Their debut album, Yvonne Dahl Killed the Locals, was self-released in 2003 and then re-released on Epitaph Records when they signed the following year. So my trusted producer, Chris Fafalios, had written in the notes, this is around the first time that he personally heard the Matches, because Punchline, Chris's band, was on a comp with you guys called A Santa Cause. It's a Punk Rock Christmas that was released by Immortal Records in 2003. I believe Immortal was a Epic Records imprint. The comp also had Blink-182, Newfound Glory, The Boss Tones, MXPX, Acceptance, Fall Out Boy, and a bunch of other bands. But the Matches song stuck out to Chris because it was so unique. And to this day, it's his personal favorite Christmas song, which is the song that we are going to talk about today, which is December is for Cynics. Your second album, Decomposer, came out in 2006. The album was recorded in various studios with 9 different producers. That's insane, including Mark Hoppus, Brett Gurewitz, Nick Hexum, John Feldman, and Tim Armstrong. That record peaked at number 18 on the Billboard's Independent Albums chart, and you guys did a bunch of touring in support of the record, including several tours of Australia, Europe, 3 Warped tours, and it was around that time that we had hooked up and done some shows Less Than Jake with the Matches. Yep. The band released Abandon Hope in 2008, which was once again a collaboration with several different producers. And then, as you said, you guys went on hiatus around 2009, but have reunited several times for shows and tours to celebrate anniversaries of your albums. And something really cool that Chris had told me about recently was there was a documentary about the band called Bleeding Audio. I have not seen it yet. I've been meaning to tune in. It premiered at film festivals in 2020, and Chris said that it's awesome.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it's kind of harrowing watching yourself on a big screen in front of people. We went to 2 premieres. It kind of like bookended the stay-at-home orders from the pandemic. Like the very last thing that we did was play the premiere in San Diego, and then just like stayed home for a year and a half. And then we recently went to a follow-up in-person premiere at the Man's Chinese down in or is it called Grauman's Chinese down in theater down in Los Angeles. So that was a weird span where it's kind of still premiering because of this weird rollout. But
and how did that come about? Was this something that the band had spearheaded, or was this like a super fan that came and said, "Hey, I want to do a documentary. I love your band"?
Kind of somewhere in between. There was a filmmaker who shot us she was like a student filmmaker back in the early 2000s. She shot like a mini doc about the band. And actually, as it turned out, she ended up dating and then marrying our bass player. So she's great. Her name's Chelsea Christer.
Keeping it in the family.
Yeah, she's great, but she has all the access that she wants at this point. She married into the access, but yeah, she was kind of shooting that stuff before then.
I would say so, and. And have you found it's so interesting because you guys have reunited and done some reunions and whatnot, but and you celebrate some anniversaries of albums. But have you found that the documentary has kind of brought forth some new fans that maybe hadn't heard you the first go around?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, doing the premieres, the audiences were kind of at the festivals. The audiences were kind of split, like Matches fans and just sort of people that were there for the film festival. So it was funny being introduced to not grown-up kids. I mean, I guess we're all grown-up kids, but you can like spot. You could definitely spot the sides of the room. It was almost like going to a sports event where like half of the crowd is wearing one set of color and the other half is wearing another colorway. You could like really see who had been to Warped Tour before and who hadn't.
It's funny you should say that because I played a festival recently where I looked out in the audience. I'm like, man, these people look old. And then I said to myself, if they look that old to me, how old do I look to them? Because they're younger than me. I'm like, damn it. I remember the time period well when you guys got signed. We were doing a record out in LA, and Brett Gurewitz is really good friends with Rob Cavallo, who was doing our record. And I remember when Brett signed you. I remember him telling me, he said, "This is the best band I've ever signed." And I've told people over the years, and I'm going to choose my words carefully here because, I don't, this is just my opinion, but I don't say it to make you feel like, oh, the coulda, woulda, shoulda been, but your band was amazing. You in particular, I told people there's an it factor, there's a star factor, and you had it. You have it.
I used to have it. No, well,
when you would hit the stage and you were a great front man. The band was great. You guys were all rippers, and it was. I've talked about your band over the years, probably. I don't know. I got 3 or 4 bands that I just think that should have had more success, whatever your definition of success is. But I think you guys should have been way more well known. Just an amazing band.
That's very nice of you to say. Thank you. I'm definitely the worst musician in the band, so I guess that if I'm giving away my secrets, that's what it is.
What do you think it was with you guys? Because I kind of have a theory. I almost feel like, you were somewhere between, you had enough, and I hate using this as a generic term, but you had enough pop punk about you to kind of be included in that world, but yet you were just a little bit too avant-garde for those folks. Your approach to your rhythms, and just this track in particular is just all over the place. It's insane. This song has so much to talk about, and I feel like you may have been a little highbrow for some people.
Yeah, maybe so. I don't know. I'm just like in general a music fan. We would go to Warped Tour and then like the next night, like go see like Michael Manring play jazz bass at Yoshi's or whatever. Like we were equal parts like Warped Tour kids and just fans of any music we could get our hands on. So I think that kind of showed itself through the music, but you can't do it alone. So we got enough support from the punk rock community to get the Epitaph deal and to go on tour with a lot of amazing bands from the scene. But then I think we were also eclectic enough to make sense on tour with ska bands, some metal bands, some screamo bands, some pop punk bands. So we kind of got to split the difference and do all the tours. We didn't really make sense perfectly on any tour we ever did, but we did get to tour a lot, which was fun, and we got to meet a lot of great people. And I love every genre, so yeah.
Well, and it's cool that you used the word jazz a moment ago to describe, because there are jazz elements within this song. There's a part in this track that's just, it's so above what my band or a lot of the bands were doing back then. Just the level of musicianship with your band it's incredible, And this song, I gotta ask, who produced this track? Because I couldn't find it online, because this song is not on any of your records. It's considered a Christmas song because it was on that comp, but this is anything but a Christmas song to me, or a holiday song. This song could have fit in nicely on a record. Who was the producer, and what was the reason for not including it on a full-length record? This song's amazing.
Yeah, this one was produced by Mike Green. Some of his most well-known stuff. He did a bunch of stuff for Paramore back in the day. He did All Time Low. Look him up. You'll find a bunch of records you recognize. He was a guy in a local band in the Bay Area. They were called the Stonecutters, which I think is a Simpsons reference. And he was just this savant, incredible lead guitar player in kind of a mediocre local band. But he was also a studio nerd and just had all this gear and was really eager to experiment with it. So we recorded half of our first record, Yvonne Dahl Killed the Locals, with him. We actually he produced some songs on all 3 of our records. So yeah, we kind of had an ongoing production relationship with him. Even when we started working with other producers, he was becoming a bigger name producer at the time himself, and he still does it to this day.
So you guys as a band kind of just felt that this track was just going to be on the comp. It wasn't worthy, or you didn't want to include it on a record, or? We
got asked to do it for the comp, and as I recall, some of the songs on the comp were, I think a lot of them were covers. Some of them were originals. It was the option of anything kind of Christmas or New Year's related or Hanukkah related or whatever, that part of the season related. Feel free to throw your hat in the ring. And yeah, we heard some of the other bands that were going to be included, and we were like, I think this is worth I think we should go to the studio. There wasn't I think there was just a flat rate for being involved, whether you had already recorded the song or not. But we were in the studio with Mike already, and we were like, hey, can we like get a little deal to do a bonus track, do one extra? You know how those things go, and you never know how they're going to turn out. But I was excited to try to write an original, and it worked out. Yeah.
Well, this song is just, and I want to know, you had mentioned before, you said I'm the least talented member of the band. I think you're being a little hard on yourself there. But with that said,
musically speaking, when you're talking about like jazz things happening and like polyrhythms and stuff, that's the other guys. Yeah.
well, that's what I was going to ask. So is your hand in this song lyrics and melody, or did you have anything to do with the music, or was the music brought to you from someone in the band?
With the matches, I generally come in with a dumb guitar part that's easy to play on an acoustic that I write to, that we end up throwing out and completely replacing with other parts that we come up with together. But that serves as just the kind of like the demo, here's how the chord structure works. And oftentimes we don't even just like use the chords, but they're a good guide on what scales everybody will play at certain times or whatever. Mm-hmm. So that part is all collaborative. But yeah, I'll come in with a song that I can just kind of like ham fist out on an acoustic guitar that has the vocal melodies and lyrics and general chord structure. Yeah.
And do you remember the writing process with this one? How did it go down?
I remember recording it better than I remember writing it, honestly. Mike Green had this studio in North Hollywood that he was just setting up, and it was just this big empty kind of loft space. There was crazy reverbs all around it. I think it must have been like, it was like a hangar. It was like, but not fancy. It was kind of a mess and sort of bad for recording. I remember we would make these like little spaces. Like there was like a hallway that had carpet in it. So that would be like the dry room, and we would just like hang bed sheets around it. Like he hadn't set up the studio yet. He just got it, and it was a huge space, and he had no money because he was just starting and had just moved to LA from the Bay Area to do this professionally. So yeah, we were kind of his guinea pigs in that studio, and he was like using this song because we weren't paying him much. He was using this song as sort of like a way of testing out the space and getting things to sound not terrible. So I remember experimenting a lot. And then we did use the big hangar room for like, I don't remember what exact reverbs we used in there, but we were like using like the sounds all around this place and just testing out mics in different places, which was really fun.
Was this tracked to Pro Tools?
I think he was on, at that point, he's on Pro Tools now, I'm sure, but he was on like Cakewalk, I think, at that time. Okay. Which was what do you call it? A DAW. It was a DAW like that. I don't think exists anymore.
For the listeners, a DAW is a digital audio workstation. So he wasn't using Pro Tools, but he was recording digitally. He could chop parts up and move them around.
Yeah, we were playing with chopping. Yeah. You're hearing a little bit of that too, with how the song is kind of stitched together. Yeah.
I kind of thought that it was recorded digitally and it wasn't done to tape, but I had to ask. And what was Mike's role in this song? Because, man, I got to tell you, this song was brought to my attention about a year ago. Chris has been wanting to get you on the show for a while now. We both have, and I heard this song and I was like, what did I just hear? It's so eclectic, and so like the parts rarely happen twice in this song. And how did this get off the ground floor? Like, you presented the idea, you had your I don't know what term you used, was it lumpy acoustic guitar chords or whatever you bring into the band, and all of a sudden it turns into, how did it get to this part, and what was Mike's role in that? Like I said,
he was trying to figure out what parts of his studio sounded good and what parts of it sounded bad, and what, trying to figure out a bunch of gear that he had just bought or borrowed and all this stuff. So it was like, sometimes you go to a studio and it's, you've paid for a certain amount of time and you're like, oh man, we got to get it done by 6:00 tomorrow. Otherwise we're over budget or whatever, there are those situations in studios. And this was not that. This was very much like, we're already working on a couple things, and and our producer was like, okay, now let's try it over here. Now let's try it over here. And not charging us extra for that, which led to being able to experiment with like a lot of different sounds and a lot of different things. And I remember there's like a jangly like arpeggio thing that John Devoto, our lead guitar player, does at a certain point in the song, and I like kind of vividly remember them being in like the big open room and like playing around with that part of the song. And I remember like walking in the room and being like, I don't even know where rhythmically this goes in the song. Like, are they playing the same song that I brought in? Like, I remember, and then like Justin's bass part is like similarly doing a lot of like crazy walking around in like the sort of jazzy way. And I remember at certain times being like, are they working on the same song I brought in? Yeah,
well, we're gonna get to that guitar part
Okay,
you're talking
cool.
about, and it's so funny. It's so funny that you talk about being the guinea pigs, and he's trying to experiment in this new room. He just moved down from the Bay Area. He's trying to figure out his studio and figure out what sounds good, where the mics, where the sweet spots are.
Yeah,
that is so evident now when I listen to this song, because man, there's like 30 riffs in this thing. There's parts coming in and out. It's very I'll use the word schizophrenic. It's kind of all over the place.
for sure.
But it works. It's such a cool piece of music. The song is 3 minutes and 29 seconds. For the first 3 seconds of the song, there's like this octave, just this cool octave guitar sound, and at the 4-second mark, you let out this like this like soft shriek. I put my notes like what? I don't even really know what you're saying there, but it's cool. At the 5-second mark, there's this chugging guitar that's swirling between the speakers. And then there's a guitar lick that's panned left and a guitar lick that's panned right that almost sounds like a keyboard. This is happening while the drums and the bass are holding down this killer groove. And that guitar off to the right, I don't know if that's the one you're talking about. It's kind of like this arpeggiated thing. It almost sounds like something out of a horror movie, like Halloween or something. And I'm like, this is supposed to be a cheerful holiday song. This sounds eerie as hell.
Yeah, I think there's a nice tradition of like ghosts and horror seeping into the Christmas holiday. We kind of like start to get stoked for the holidays when Halloween hits, sort of like marks the beginning of holiday season. And I love the like entertainment that like Christmas Carol and like Nightmare Before Christmas, how just the holiday just kind of that season just sort of rolls into this one thing. So yeah, there is a little horror in there.
Well, and the just the first 24 seconds of this song is just like, what am I hearing and where is this going? And then all of a sudden you're into verse 1 at the 25-second mark.
Black flames to stare out, modeling slang to wear out, scoff at squares in sweaters. Oh ho ho, we're so much better.
I'm going to read out these lyrics and I want you to decipher these for me and tell me what's going on.
Sure.
Black frames to stare out, mod lang slang to wear out, scoff at squares and sweaters. Ho ho ho, we're so much better. What's going on in your sick, twisted mind, Shawn?
Yeah, I've got a little bit of that Mike Park, I missed the bus energy here. But
I wouldn't have put those two analogies together, but okay.
No, I mean, Mod Lang was a record store that I shopped at in high school, and the staff there, they were older than me, they were cooler than me, they were like college kids, and maybe there was like an aspirational like, when I get older I want to be cool kind of thing that happened when I would walk into that store. I think that's why I dropped, like, I think it's also a truncation of modern language, so modern language slang or whatever. But I was thinking about the record store. I was thinking about the kids that worked at the record store, how I wanted to grow up and be one, and how I also like hated them. And so this whole thing, this whole song is just sort of a parody of not necessarily myself, but kind of who I wanted to be. I mean, it's kind of, I find it's kind of easiest to make fun of myself lyrically, and I do so whether I want to or not. I just like the recipe for being embarrassed by something that I write is just like, tell the truth, tell all of it, and then like wait 4 years, and then everything that I thought was cool about it is going to be embarrassing. So that's sort of what's happening in the entirety of this song.
Well, I like a good self-deprecating lyric. I'm a sucker for that. Now, the scoff at squares and sweaters, is that you scoffing at them, or are you making an observation, or are they scoffing at you and everybody else that's walking into the store because they're better than you?
No, I was thinking of Christmas sweaters, and at this point, like I was still living in my parents' house. I was like, you know, me and my friends we were like starting bands and trying to get into art school and stuff like that, and you know, the romance of the holidays was sort of a rote thing that our parents did. Now, here's the footnote is that I love the holidays and I love romance, and I was going through a fuck this phase, but I knew that it wasn't going to age well. And so I was just writing a song in the moment, sort of making fun of my friends or who I thought I wanted to be or something like that. I think it's just in general, at that age especially, it felt smart to be critical of something. So being critical of the holiday season felt fun and smart, but also just to tear something down and to be a critic is just sort of a lame, boring thing to do, and it's not creative, and it's actually not. It's not greatness, and it's not very smart. So, well,
that's what I'll tell you. That's what I love about doing this podcast, because you could have told me 30 things of what this was about, and you know, I'm looking at these lyrics going, where is he coming from this? And it's great. This first verse here, the bass and the drums throughout, the bass is not staccato like the intro. It's moving. I wrote like in a circular fashion. It's kind of doing this round interplay. It's awesome. On the word scoff, there's this like slap echo that goes from left to right real quick. You remember what that was?
That's Mike Green right there. Yeah,
that's Mike. Okay, so that's something the producer came with. Okay, cool. It's just a little cool piece of ear candy there. I like that. And there's a double vocal, or I don't know if it's two backing vocals on the ho 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 part. That's the first time you hear more than one vocal there. And was there a reason that you stuck that there? Was that Mike's suggestion, or do you recall?
As much as possible, especially thinking about when you're writing a song, thinking about how it's going to translate on stage. You just know the parts where the other guys in the band step up to the mic are exciting and fun on stage, both visually from the audience, and it also tend to be lines that the crowd will be like, oh, everyone on stage is singing, I'll do it too. So part of like the experience of thinking about what this is going to be like playing it live kind of changes the way you approach the vocal arrangements, especially, I think.
Hey everybody, don't you dare go anywhere. There's lots more Chris DeMakes A Podcast after these messages from our sponsors.
Looking to elevate your music career? DistroKid is a digital music distribution service that enables musicians to distribute their music to online stores and streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, Amazon, Tidal, and many more. DistroKid collects earnings and payments, sending them to you, the artist. With DistroKid, artists unlock a world of possibilities. From easily paying collaborators with splits to securing your music with DistroLock, DistroKid covers all bases. Plus, you can promote your releases with Hyperfollow and create eye-catching visuals with a Spotify Canvas generator, all for free. But that's not all. Introducing the DistroKid app, now available on iOS and Android. Artists can manage their releases, view streaming stats, and withdraw earnings, all from the palm of their hand. And for those looking to perfect their sound, check out Mixia. With its simple interface and customizable mastering options, artists can make their music sound polished and professional within minutes. And don't forget about Instant Share, DistroKid's newest feature. Share large files securely with collaborators, producers, and more, ensuring your music streams at the highest quality. Ready to take your music to the next level? Download the DistroKid app and explore their suite of tools today. Plus, listeners can enjoy 30% off their first year by visiting distrokid.com/VIP/DeMakes. That's distrokid.com/VIP/DeMakes.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. There's nothing sweeter than baking cookies during the holidays. With Prime, I get all my ingredients delivered right to my door, fast and free, no last-minute store trips needed. And of course, I blast my favorite holiday playlist on Amazon Music. It's the ultimate soundtrack for creating unforgettable memories. From streaming to shopping, it's on Prime. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to get more out of whatever you're into.
We have one more act for you this evening. I don't even need to say his name. Mr. Bob Dylan.
From the director of Walk the Line and Ford vs. Ferrari.
If anyone is going to hold your attention on a stage, you have to kind of be a freak.
And starring Timothée Chalamet as Bob Dylan.
Are you a freak?
Hope so.
Once upon a time, you're just so fine.
Inspired by the true story.
I want to know which side he's on.
This Christmas.
They just want me singing Blowing in the Wind for the rest of my life.
Bobby, what do you want to be?
Whatever it is they don't want me to be.
He defied everyone.
Turn it down!
Play loud!
To change everything.
He's our Elvis.
With no direction.
Timothée Chalamet, Edward Norton, Elle Fanning, Monica Barbaro.
Make some noise, BD. Track some mud on the carpet.
A complete unknown. Only in theaters Christmas Day. Rated R. Under 17, not admitted without parent.
This is the sound of your ride home with Dad after he caught you vaping. Awkward, isn't it? Most vapes contain seriously addictive levels of nicotine and disappointment. Know the real cost of vapes. Brought to you by the FDA.
Screwball peanut butter whiskey? Why the hell not? A little salty, a little sweet, a little savory, and always smooth. Screwball, the original peanut butter whiskey that's unexpectedly delicious. Visit screwballwhiskey.com to learn more. That's Screwball with a K. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2023 Screwball Spirits, LLC, New York, New York.
Deck your home with Blinds.com. DIY or let us install. Free design consultation. Plus free samples and free shipping.
Head to Blinds.com now for up to 40% off select styles plus a free professional measure. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Behind the delivery trucks that keep your life stocked, thousands of employees at BP go to work every day. People bringing a new offshore production platform online. People making our refineries capable of more, like making renewable diesel from agricultural waste. People trading and shipping fuels to our customers. And people helping truckers fill up and get maintenance at our convenient locations. They're part of the more than 300,000 jobs BP supports across the country. Learn more at bp.com/investing in America.
Time to move? Skip the hassles of selling during the holiday season and sell your home directly to Opendoor. Request an all-cash offer in minutes, close, and get paid in days. You can even pick your close date so you can move after New Year's. Start your move at Opendoor.com or download the Opendoor app. Opendoor is represented by Opendoor Brokerage Inc., license 02061130 in California, and Opendoor Brokerage LLC in its other markets. Terms and conditions apply.
I'm James McComb, reporting live from home in my bathrobe and slippers. Tonight, we're talking Dunkin' Polar Peppermint Coffee. Gene's here with the latest. Gene, do you copy?
The home with Dunkin' is where you want to be.
With Uber Reserve, good things come to those who plan ahead. Family vacay? Reserve your ride as soon as you book your flights. To all the planners, now you can reserve your Uber ride up to 90 days in advance. See Uber app for details.
Each week on the One Hit Thunder podcast, we welcome a special guest to come take a deep dive into a one-hit wonder artist with us. And together, we decide if that artist brought the one-hit thunder or was nothing more than a one-hit blunder. You can find One Hit Thunder anywhere that you listen to podcasts, so hit that subscribe button and join in on the fun each week. And now, back to the show.
Another reason I asked about digital recording Pro Tools was this is the first time the backing vocals, and it's throughout the song, that they're off time, the vocals. They're kind of disjointed. And I know that's on purpose. They weren't lined up perfectly. And it kind of gives you this kind of ragtag feel, you know?
Yeah.
And that made me go, wait a second. I wonder if this wasn't lined up because they were doing a tape, but it was too off. It sounded on purpose. At the 34-second mark, I'm not going to call this pre-chorus 1. This part's so bizarre. I'm calling this interlude 1 because after the second verse, another interlude happens. I've never used the term interlude on this show before, maybe even ever in my life when describing songs. But this at 34 seconds, this interlude between verse 1 and verse 2, there's like the drums break down and the guitar brings in a brand new feel while the vocals are doing these kind of whoa, whoa, whoas.
Oh, we're so much better. Whoa, 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 whoa,
How did you write this part? Like melody wise, like where did this come from? Sometimes I look too linear at songs and I have to step back, but this is just like, where did this come from?
Sure. I always think of all the Who's down in Whoville during this part. When we sing it.
welcome Christmas, come this way. Welcome Christmas Day.
Yeah, the song didn't want to go into chorus yet. We'll get to the chorus in after the next verse, but I've been fairly wordy so far, so it needed a break. Sometimes you look to like a guitar solo, and sometimes you just kind of make a musical interlude. And I guess we were all feeling it. So yeah, John kind of comes in with something different, and yeah, we orchestrated the vocals to do something different too. Yeah,
it's awesome. And at the 44-second mark, you're now in verse 2.
Downloads are the new crack. Mocking carols that we hate. Damn, it's easy being great.
The lyric is used as the new black. Downloads are the new crack. Mocking carols that we hate. Damn, it's easy being great.
Yeah. The line that's like the biggest cringe in the whole song, but also like heart of the whole song is damn, it's easy being great. And it's so funny, we'll still play this song in the holiday season, like for our reunion stuff. And it's so funny singing that I'm just like, I hope everybody knows, like, this isn't like, this is a parody. I hope that they don't see us on stage going like, damn, we are the shit, it's funny, but it had to be in here. It's the heart of the song too, so yeah.
No, it's awesome. The drums and the bass are holding down the same groove as verse 1, but yet another guitar pattern is introduced here. That interlude number 1, you never hear that again in the song, and now this guitar pattern now comes in verse 2, and on the mocking carols that we hate, just on that one line, an octave guitar comes in here, kind of swirling left and right and back and forth.
Downloads are the new crack. Mocking carols that we hate. Damn, it's easy being great.
Do you recall was again something Mike brought in or someone else in the band? Like, why just that one line and why that octave guitar there, which is awesome though?
I know. I'm trying to think of, like, a lot of times when I write a song, I bring it to the band, I have a couple comps. Like I will have been listening to a certain band and I'll be like, I'm thinking kind of like this meets this, I honestly don't remember. When you're doing a song basically for a comp, you asked why this wasn't on a record. Well, like when you're doing a song for a comp, there's nothing to lose in being really creative, stepping out on the edge and trying new things, because it's not going to go on your album. It would honestly, like, if you don't have the best song on a comp, people just skip your song or forget about it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not going to be
that's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Exactly. So why not try stuff? And I remember that being the mentality. So I don't even know if we were thinking of other bands or things to borrow, or if we were just like trying to be weird and experiment. I'm sure I know you mentioned the guitars like almost sounding like synths sometimes, and that I can say probably came from, we had just done our first UK tour, and that band Muse was getting popular over there but hadn't hit in the States yet. And we were just like blown away by those, like by how his guitar sounded so weird and metallic and synthy sometimes. So I know John was like getting into a big Muse phase there.
Well, and that totally makes sense with what you were saying too, that you're able to experiment. This is just going on a comp. If no one likes it, we'll just skip it. Because this is one of the more adventurous songs to me in your catalog. At the 54-second mark, we're at interlude number 2. Okay, not going to call this a pre-chorus. I call this the next interlude. Drums are doing the same feel as interlude number 1, but very soft on the kick and the ride cymbal. The guitar is doing yet another counter melody, another part, and there's this like la da 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 part vocally that's happening here. Then the band swells and stops abruptly before we're into chorus 1.
So hell with holiday romantics. December is for cynics. December is for critics. Let's get high on our supplies and hibernate. December is for cynics. Damn, it's too easy being great.
So to hell with holiday romantics. December is for cynics. December is for critics. Let's get high on art supplies and hibernate. December is for cynics. Damn, it's too easy being great. You get that lyric in again there. And there's harmonies on everything here, but they're very disjointed, as I mentioned. And I wrote in my notes, it almost feels like a campfire sing-along. You know, you're kind of getting with your friends or a holiday sing along. It has that vibe to it. It's disjointed, but not in a bad way where you get a horrible band that can't play and like, oh, this sounds terrible. This was meant to be, obviously. It's perfectly disjointed. I think it's awesome. Again, there's a brand new feel here. It doesn't follow your traditional drum pattern of what you would consider. The drums are doing this just kick and snare. It's really interesting. And how did that come about?
Well, first of all, the gang vocals of the chorus was was us thinking about, hey, when we play this live, like this should be fun. And this feels like it wants to be a sing along. I want to say that some of the guys from Over It might have been starting to work with Mike Green, and we met them somewhere around that time. And I think they came in the studio and sang these gang vocals with us. So you get that feeling of, you know, when you want to do a gang vocal, but like half of the room doesn't quite know the part.
Yeah.
And it ends up sounding kind of perfect. Like it's like everyone's sort of a little like, am I doing it right? Is that the rhythm? Is that the note? And it really like thickens up a gang vocal better than like if everybody was well practiced on a part. So sometimes it's like an asset to do a gang vocal with strangers or people that haven't heard the song, basically. So yeah.
And what do you, getting that lyric in again here, damn, it's too easy being great. And you say it's too easy here, not just it's easy being great. Bringing that lyric back and set up these lyrics for us here in the chorus.
If you hadn't like gotten the sort of the theme of the too cool art school narrator me yet, by this point, like this is, I guess the chorus is just sort of the Cliff's notes on screw the holidays. This is going on a holidays on a holidays compilation. We're gonna be the song that's like, screw this. Yeah.
At the end here, at the end of the chorus, where damn, it's too easy being great. On great, there's this hi-hat delayed weird thing off to the left. It's just like this. It just happens for a second.
It's too easy being great.
And then there's like feedback, and I tried to Google this, Shawn. I don't know, and maybe Chris can chime in here. What's it called when you take, I'll grab my guitar. When you take, you know what I'm going to talk about.
I know what you're talking about.
I don't know what this is called. When you hit this part of your guitar up by the neck.
Yep. That's what it is right there.
It's a pick rake, and that's there. And that
is that what it's called? Is it called a pick rake?
That's what I just called it. I don't know.
I think we're recording it here. Yeah.
Okay. So that comes in there, and just that tonality, that what I just played, that sounds eerie in and of itself. It kind of sounds spooky and horror movie-ish.
Sure.
So that part comes in with a hi-hat and then the feedback, and we transition into verse number 3, which we're only at 1 minute and 29 seconds in this song, and you've been hit with a ton of information by this point, a ton of parts. And on this particular line, I feel like you were channeling Jello Biafra here almost.
I brought you a bottle of wine full of flowers and this vinyl. I know we both made it clear, no stupid presents this year. But Snopes.com said it should play Strawberry Fields the wrong way. You can hear Lennon's ghost say, wish there was no I buried Paul.
You got like a little Dead Kennedys vibe going on. You say, I brought you a bottle of wine full of flowers and this vinyl. I know we both made it clear, no stupid presents this year. But Snopes.com said if you play Strawberry Fields the wrong way, you can hear Lennon's ghost say. And we're not going to go any further right now. I want you to set up those lyrics there and talk to me about channeling Jello on those first two lines. Was that subconscious, or were you a DK fan, or that just happened that way?
Yeah, I like the Dead Kennedys. I don't know the reference that I'm referencing at this point, but I might have been. What's the Dead Kennedys reference?
Well, it's the first two lines. It was just your vocal delivery of how you sang it.
Oh, of how I sang it. Oh, I thought
yeah,
you were
it's like
lyrically.
I brought you about the. It's kind of like got vibrato in your voice that happens there.
Yeah. I mean, I love the Dead Kennedys, so that's cool. But I don't think I was intentionally doing that.
Okay.
Awesome.
I just thought that was really interesting because it was a different personality that comes out on those two lines that really isn't there in the rest of the song. Those two lines in particular. I brought you a bottle of wine full of flowers and this vinyl. Those two lines in particular. The bass and the drums are holding down the groove, and the guitar is using like this delay tremolo sound and pattern from verse 2. That has made it back. And when we get to the line, but Snopes.com said if you play, and through the rest of the lyrics here in this verse, there's a guitar run from the intro that comes in here on the left speaker. It's not the spooky riff at the top, it's the other riff.
But Snopes.com said it should play Strawberry Fields the wrong way. You can hear Lennon's ghost say, wish there was no.
And I was like, okay, cool. I'm hearing something that I've heard in the song.
I'm
finally hearing. Yes, yeah. Because up to this point, man, it is just all over the place in a great way, not in a bad way.
Do you know what year this comp came out? I looked up when the song came out, and the online seems to think when we added this to streaming services is when it came out, which is not the case.
It says 2003 on Immortal Records, which, as I said earlier, I believe was an imprint of Epic Records.
I have a theory, and I don't remember this specifically, but 2003 was when Blink-182 put out their Untitled record, and the first song was Feeling This.
Show me the way you move. I'm feeling it. It's such a blur. I'm feeling it. I love all the things you do. I'm feeling it. We fell short this time. Your smile fades in the summer. Place your hand in mine.
And I remember feeling this knocking my socks off in terms of like this patchwork of like the drums are doing one thing and then doing something else, and then the vocals are doing that, and a different vocal sound and a different part and a different part. I remember like being really enamored with how that song was like Pro Tools together, basically.
Well, I was shocked just from the fact I didn't know Snopes.com was around back then. I was like, jeez, they've been around for over almost 20 years. Like that was what really shocked me about this part.
Yeah. I like dropping that in there. It's fun. Yeah.
And the lyric, I'll read this lyric again because it leads into the next part. But Snopes.com said if you play Strawberry Fields the wrong way, you can hear Lennon's ghost say. And I don't know if you ever looked up these lyrics online, Shawn, but it's your first record. Yvonne Dahl Killed the Locals, your first self-release record that was picked up and re-released by Epitaph. Says it's that backwards. Is that what that is there?
Oh,
because it's written backwards here in the online lyrics.
That is it. That's so funny. I thought what I say right after that in the lyrics is the Beatles line that is backwards on "I Am the Walrus." The "I Buried Paul." So I answer that. You can hear Lennon's ghost say "I buried Paul," which was like, just, I don't know. I don't know why I'm putting Beatles trivia into this song, but that's what I'm doing.
So that backwards line here, which is basically, I guess, Yvonne Dahl killed the locals. You ran that backwards. It's kind of panned off to the left.
I forgot.
And it kind of sounds mumbled sounding, like which is warbled because it's backwards.
Yeah, it's backwards.
And then the very next line, you say, "I buried Paul."
Yeah.
How did that come into December's for cynics, December's for critics. You don't like the guy at the sweater at the record store. Now you're talking about the Beatles. What is going on here?
I mean, I got to say that I like this verse better than verse 1, just as my songwriting brand. I like it when a song starts and it kind of, like, verse 1 is sort of like establishing here's what we're doing here. There's the thesis for the song, and then the chorus hammers it home. And then by verse 2, like, I got to meander off topic, and like maybe I just need to like throw out verse 1s and 2s and just start with verse 3, have that be verse 1, and just throw out the first 2 things I read.
This is going on a Christmas comp. People are just going to skip it.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. But I actually like this one being so off topic. I don't like, whoever's listening to the song is going to be interpreting these things entirely differently. Like you said, like, what the song could have been about 20 things. I had no idea. Like, it doesn't really matter as long as I give you the right feeling and the right mood. Like, and there are some cool lines to quote. Like, it doesn't need to be so.
Well, cohesive. I mean, how many of our favorite songs are the most vague lyric and vague thing ever, and they
That's right.
just resonate. They just resonate. This song is cool.
Mickey Mouse has grown up a cow, man.
At 1 minute and 54 seconds, we're at chorus number 2.
Yeah.
So down with holiday romantics. December is for cynics. December is for critics. Let's go buy some takeout and hibernate. December is for cynics. Damn, it's too easy being great.
So to hell with holiday romantics. December is for cynics. December is for critics. Let's go buy some takeout and hibernate. December is for critics. Damn, it's too easy being great. So there is a lyrical change here on line 4. Let's go buy some takeout and hibernate. I noticed here, Shawn, that there's harmonies pretty much throughout, but not on certain words. The harmonies were all over chorus number 1 and the gang vocal, I guess. But you say, so to hell with, and then holiday romantics, there's nothing on there. Do you recall why it was left off and it wasn't like chorus 1?
That's a good question. My guess is that
you had the channel muted.
Yeah, that could be it too. Could definitely be it.
We've Less Than Jake's done that before.
My guess is that John actually might go into a unison part there. It wasn't until kind of like late era the matches. It might have been even post the matches that I figured out that harmonies are just chords that you're playing with vocals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I hadn't realized that, like, quite how to write a harmony. And I don't think John had either. We would just sing stuff and, like, there are certain, you can like sing a third and you're like, that sounds good, but it doesn't always sound good. You can't just move a third with the whole thing, like you got to go with the scale. But I hadn't figured out that concept of it moving like chords and having to change the relative space between notes to stay in the scale hadn't occurred to me yet. So when something didn't work, oftentimes we would just sing a unison part or something.
Sometimes that's the only thing that does work.
Yeah, totally.
This chorus feels like chorus 1, but the drums are doing completely different fills. There's some stuff going on here that's just really, really cool. On the line, let's go buy some takeout and hibernate. Between the words taken out, there's this crazy drum fill that just doesn't feel like it should work. It's like going off the rails. Like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
It's not in chorus 1. So again, talking about digitally recording through Pro Tools, a lot of times you'll paste chorus 1 and chorus. I'm like, this isn't the same feel as any of the choruses. Like, what the heck is going on here? But it's so great. I like on the last line here, damn, it's too easy. And then being great is just you alone. It just gives you that moment. It's just a vocal And now we're into yet another part. And this bridge is awesome.
Easy being great.
At the 2-minute and 13-second mark, the drums are broke down almost a jazzy feel. Here's where it gets jazzy to me. This is a feel that not a lot of bands we were running with back then could have had this feel. And I hearken back to what Brett said. These guys are rippers. When I first talked to Gurewitz about you guys, he's like, the musicianship is through the roof. And I remember touring with you and watching you side stage. You guys were on fire. The guitar is doing like what I call volume swells. It's where like it sounds like a violin, where you're turning the volume up and down. I don't know if it was that or a volume pedal.
That's what it was. Yeah, that's what it was. It was the volume knob.
Volume.
Yeah.
It's such a cool effect. At the 2-minute and 23rd second mark, there's, I don't know if it's like a wah pedal with like a delayed flange guitar off to the left speaker. And then at 2 minutes and 32 seconds, the drums hit a more straightforward groove, and the guitar off to the left is doing a high pitched lick, while the guitar on the right is playing an octave lower counterpart to that. For the next 6 seconds, from 240 to 246, there's 3 stop patterns, where the band's like, digga, 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 dun. And it happens 3 times before this cool, fast guitar sweep happens to the left. And a sweep is something like Yngwie Malmsteen does, like, it's like this really fast arpeggio. You're like skipping strings, and it's just, I'm like, at this point in the song, I go, where did this come from? Like, who thought of this? It's off to the left. And that part, after that happens, it takes us into chorus 3. But I love this bridge. You want to talk about taking you somewhere. This takes you on a little ride.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah. I know for the volume pot thing is a trick that I stole from Greg from Zebrahead, the guitar player from Zebrahead.
He was great at that.
Incredible guitar player and very innovative. He was like, he was like a Muse caliber guitar player.
I think Greg tunes into this show sometimes. If you're listening, Greg, how you doing, buddy? I miss you.
Yeah, Greg,
he's awesome.
Too. Awesome.
Yeah, he is so
he's
awesome.
Incredible. And the stuff John is doing is like super Joe Satriani or Yngwie or something like that.
Yeah, that's exact. And I didn't even say arpeggiato guitar part, because arpeggios to me are kind of like more like picking, but you can do fast super. I'm calling this what we used to call in the 80s a sweep. It's like whoa, like it's just it came out of nowhere. And then we're into chorus number 3, which is a double chorus here at the end of the song.
So hell with holiday romantics. December is for cynics. December is for critics. Let's just ride the sleep late and hibernate. December is for cynics. Damn, it's too easy being so hell with holiday romantics. December is for cynics. December is for critics. Let's get by a night without hibernate. December is for cynics. Damn, it's too easy being great.
So to hell with holiday romantics. December is for cynics. December is for critics. Harmonies on all of those lines, but it's only drums here. Again, the vocals are not lined up. Sounds really disjointed, but really cool. Backyard campfire sing-along. The next line is just a melody. There's no harmony on this. Let's just try to sleep late and hibernate. Yet another lyric, new lyric. December is for cynics. Damn, it's too easy being. You don't say being great. You leave it hanging, being. On that line, it's too easy being. The guitars come back in there. Prior to that, it was just the drums again. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like a fake out almost before you get into the back half of chorus 3 here. In between, the first half has just drums. When it says December is for critics, before the new line here, let's just try to sleep late and hibernate, the guitar comes in here for 2 chords. Jing, jing, only.
Let's just ride the sleep late and hibernate.
And then it goes back to drums, which I thought was really cool. Do you remember that part and how that came about?
Probably like channeling some Radiohead creep kind of to do something, I don't know, like yeah.
Okay.
Those things are always fun when you're just like when everybody pauses and something that like shouldn't be that musical happens. Those are always like hooks of moments, right?
Well, the last half of chorus 3 here, the back half. So to hell with holiday romantics. December is for cynics. December is for critics. Let's get by on NyQuil and hibernate. I love that line. December is for cynics. Damn, it's too easy being great. On the last line here, there's harmonies throughout everything I just read, even on the word damn, but then there's no harmony on it's too, and that's the last you hear of the rhythm section, the band going dun dun, and then it's just you alone, Shawn, saying easy being great, and that's how the song ends. Another little haunting sprinkle on top of this already haunting holiday song.
Yeah, sugar cookie it. Yep.
What was your reaction when you first heard this whole monster put together? You're in the studio, you're listening back to it. Was everybody into it, or was it just, it's going on a comp, people are going to skip it?
We were really excited about it. The last stuff that we had recorded in studio for Yvonne Dahl, Kill the Locals, I think we had just finished that stuff up the year before maybe, and like the tail end of those sessions, we were, when you get towards the end of an album, similarly, you can kind of start experimenting more. You don't have to be as safe. Like you've got some songs you think are good, so you can be a little weird and see if something cool happens or if you ruin your record, whatever. But we had gotten into that, and we had been able to play some of that stuff for an audience, and we were like, oh, they like the weird stuff. This is kind of cool. You never know. Like, and so that kind of pushed us into this realm too. So we were excited, but I don't remember how long it was before we got to actually work out the live arrangement, because when you work in Pro Tools, sometimes things are so like, you don't really have to worry about like which order you're pressing pedals in to get different sounds and stuff. Yeah. So a lot of times you have to go into the rehearsal space and like figure out compromises and ways to get from point A to point B in terms of guitar sounds and who could do what, and like, hey, can you play this thing from the bass line in the recording on your guitar so that I can switch over? Like I remember that being a big undertaking with this song. Yeah. But when we actually got to play it live, we sort of get saved by the crowd on this one. Like just when it gets to be like, we're like, oh my God, I can't like, I can't compute. I'm going to like got steam coming out of our ears trying to keep the tones right and changing at the right time. And then it just gets to that, so to hell, and then the crowd just sings over us.
Takes
and we
over.
Can all just kind of like, oh, thank God. Okay. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, the last thing I want to finish up with here, I just want to tell you, I really feel like you guys were ahead of your time. I feel like you were really innovative. I hear hints and notes of your music still today. I heard it through the 2000s to even the 2010s, and now in the 2020s through bands such as Panic at the Disco, My Chemical Romance, Ice Nine Kills, and a number of other bands. I continue to hear flourishes of what I consider your sound, and you guys are awesome. If you could leave the listeners with what's going on. I know we talked a little bit at the top here, but what's going on with you coming up or the matches?
Yeah, for me, I still do music. I do solo stuff. My solo project's called Saint Ranger. It's ST Ranger. And you can find me on Instagram with I have a record club called Pretend Record Club, where me and my friend Tim DeVille take turns producing each other's tracks. So if you're all about, and each one of them gets sent out as vinyl. So it's kind of a quarterly thing that we do biannually. And then, beyond that, the matches, we've written an album and we're arranging it, and we'll see if we ever record it. We've got to see what Mike Green is up to these days. But yeah, maybe new stuff, or maybe we get back together and do whatever anniversary is coming up in 5 years. There's always one.
I'm going to do an online petition to get a Santa Claus. It's a Punk Rock Christmas Part 2. Okay, awesome. You got to write the sequel. You got to write the sequel to this one. All right.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Thanks, Shawn.
Thank you, Chris. That was really fun.
Hey, everybody, don't touch that dial. There's plenty more Chris DeMakes A Podcast after a few words from our sponsors. If you're looking for an inexpensive and unique gift for a friend, family member, or even for yourself, check out iloveenamelpins.com. From Hollywood stars like Jeff Goldblum and Meryl Streep, to fictional characters like the Golden Girls or Jack Torrance, to sports stars and musicians and politicians and dogs and cats, there's something for everyone at iloveenamelpins.com. As an added bonus, use the discount code ChrisDeMakes at checkout to save 30% off your order at iloveenamelpins.com.
As we near the end of the show, here's a band you might not know.
Welcome to this week's Band You Might Not Know. If you'd like your band to be considered for Chris DeMakes A Podcast, all you have to do is email your song via MP3 only and your bio to bandyoumightnotknow@gmail.com. This week's featured artist is The Thieves About from San Diego, California. They're a high-energy rock band consisting of J. Scott Gavin on vocals and guitar, Brian Eulery on drums, John Reichs on guitar, and Andrew Liams on bass. Here's a snippet of their song, We Go Down.
I know the road to make it right. We hang up dial 69. We ride all through the night as we go down. Spin it around and around again as we go down. Won't you come along, my friend, as we go down? Spin it around and around again.
The Wrap with Chris and Chris.
Oh boy, was I excited for that episode. As you know, Chris, I've been wanting to do a December is for Cynics episode forever. I'm not lying when I say it's my favorite holiday/Christmas song ever, even though it's kind of, in a way, making fun of the Christmas season, but I just think this song rocks.
This song is in everything that Shawn said, down to this producer, Mike. He got a brand new place. He moved from the Bay Area to LA. He was trying to figure out what sounds good. I mean, everything that he was talking about lended itself. Yeah, the song's just going to be on a comp. If people don't like it, they can skip it. It led to this being the monster that it is. I took so many notes in this song. It took me forever to get through them, I felt, in the episode. There was so much here.
Yeah, it's a monster of a song, and I love the matches, and I feel like my band Punchline has a lot of parallels with them. I recently saw their documentary called Bleeding Audio. It's great. It's awesome. As you brought up in the episode, Chris, I feel like this band was very popular, but I feel like they could have been even way more popular just based on, I think maybe they were a little bit ahead of their time in certain aspects.
I do too.
Whatever. All that stuff aside, I felt like a lot of similarities in our band's story, and much like he was saying, Punchline got asked to be part of this same comp, and we were like, oh, hell yeah, we saw the list of bands that were going to be on it. Oh, Blink-182's on this. Oh, all these, like, the Mighty Mighty Bosstones are on this. This is amazing. But we got asked to be on it, but they were like, yo, you got to submit your song in, 3 days. So we wrote a song and went to a studio and recorded it, and it is the most patchwork song ever, and it's called Icicles, yet fans of ours love it. When we listen to it, we're kind of like, oh my God, we threw that thing together so fast, and it's just like a patchwork of things, and it kind of sounds similar to what the Matches did here, although I think the Matches song is way better than ours.
Well, he kind of echoed those sentiments too, that kind of like, it was just this song for a comp. It was kind of like, we patched this together in this guy's new studio. And that's why I asked him, I said, when you heard it back, do you like the song? He's like, oh yeah, we still play it. The audience loves it. It's great when we get to the chorus. So I'm glad he's embraced it, because at first it was just like, it almost was like, wait, is this a throwaway song for these guys? How could it be?
Dude, I was laughing because I know everyone out there listening can't see you guys, but the whole time Shawn was smiling and laughing. I think he felt that he referenced it. He said, I got that I missed the bus Mike Park energy, referencing the Mike Park episode where Mike was kind of like, oh, you're bringing up this cringeworthy old song or whatever, like where he felt embarrassed, but like, I'm thinking to myself over here, dude, I've been rocking this song out this week. There is nothing cringy about this song at all. I feel like it rocks. I feel like you were asking him a lot about like, what does this mean? And when I listen to this song, I don't know if I just take away my own meaning. I do get that it's kind of parody. I picture like the guy in the black turtleneck and glasses who's too good for Christmas. Dude, I almost think about, in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, Julia Louis-Dreyfus and her husband who like live next door, and they like have whatever. They don't celebrate Christmas. They have like the black Christmas tree or whatever. I picture those characters.
I hope he falls and breaks his neck?
I'm sure he'll fall, but I don't think we're lucky enough to have him break his neck. Let's go.
But I get it. I love the verse about like, hey, you and your significant other saying, hey, no stupid presents this year. We're going to listen to records and we're going to hang out. And I just think as me being somewhat of a Scrooge about the holidays, I just like relate to this song and I love it.
Yeah, no, I don't. It's really interesting. I've had that a number of times, not just Mike Park. There's been other times on this show. And when I talk to bands on the road or friends and people I meet and just like, hey, I really like that lyric. Like, what? I wrote that in the back of my van when I was drunk one night. That's a lame lyric. There's nothing to be embarrassed about in these lyrics. And, I take away kind of the literal meaning, kind of as you did. But at the same time, I asked him those questions. What are you saying here? Because I was trying to get in his mind of who's the squares and the sweaters here? Is that you or is that them? And I loved how he started to describe it. It was great.
I loved that he said, I hope everybody knows this is parody. But that lyric is the heart of the song. And man, the Matches had such a cool, image about them and such a cool energy and vibe to their band. Songs aside, if you looked at the guys or saw them live, someone could have thought that like, oh, this lead singer of this band, he's going to be an asshole or whatever. This was the nicest, most humble dude. When I was watching this, like, I told him this after we finished recording. I'm like, I feel like I'm friends with you. And I want to be friends with this guy. He's like the nicest dude, like the complete opposite of maybe this character that he portrays somewhat in the songs or whatever. It's just not him. It's so humble,
No, and it's funny. I haven't talked to Shawn in probably 13 or 14 years, and it was like we picked right back up, and we're back in the dressing room on tour 14 years ago. He's just they were always such great guys, and I was careful about the words I chose earlier. It's you never know what's going to strike a nerve with somebody. Your band should have been bigger, but I just feel this band were so ahead of their time, and more people should know about them. They're great.
I agree with that, but also they're a pretty popular band.
Oh yeah, yeah.
In their time, like they did well.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
I think about that all the time. When I'm thinking about my own band or whatever, is like grass is always greener. And when it comes to that sort of thing, and sometimes if I'm down on myself, like I wish my band was bigger or whatever, I got to think about the fact that like, oh wait a second, my band has achieved more success than probably 99% of bands ever.
Oh yeah, and
so,
the Matches are in that department as well. They for sure had and seeing them live back then, the audience went crazy for them. They were rabid for them. They had a great live show, and no, they made it in the sense of hey, did your band make it? Yeah, these guys made it, but I feel that more people should have known about it. I think they're just an amazing band.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I also, Chris, one more thing I wanted to talk about was, and I think about this in songwriting too, but Shawn brought up thinking about, hey, this is going to be fun to sing live, like with the audience when you're writing and recording something. I know Less Than Jake has to do that, right?
There's been times, mostly in the early stuff, but before, because we were writing songs that were taken straight from the warehouse to the stage. We weren't recording them. Right. So it was definitely in the early days more thought of in that sense. Wait, this is going to be a great sing-along.
And no doubt this chorus in December is for Cynics. I haven't seen the Matches play this live in person, but you better believe I'm going to have chills from head to toe and be singing along so loud if I ever have the pleasure of seeing this song live.
And speaking of chills from head to toe, Chris, I cannot wait to announce next week's guest. I am stoked.
I know you can't, but you got to hold off a few more days. I know you're ready to tell the whole world about this one. I know you've been waiting for this one for a long time, but you got to keep it a secret for a few more days, Chris.
I know. I'm like a kid at the holidays. I got to tell you, last year for December, we had the holiday special with the Vandals. We had Joe Escalante on, which was a lot of fun. And this year we've done two. We had Shawn with the Matches with December is for Cynics, today's episode. But next week we have another one. We're doing a two for this year, Chris.
Yeah, you consider next week's a holiday one, huh? I guess so.
Kind of. The tail end of the episode, we're going to get into it. But man, it's been a lot of fun. I can't believe we're about to wrap up another year, going on 2 years now. Next June of 2022, it'll be 2 years of this podcast. I don't know where the time has went, but it's been an absolute blast.
You have been doing a great job as host of this podcast, Chris, because I got to say that I know it's not easy to get on the podcast. Okay, maybe it's a little easier when it's somebody you've known for a long time, it's your friend, and it's not so hard. But when you get on here with someone you don't know and you instantly have to break the ice and then dive into some piece of art that they've created from their heart and really like get into the nuts and bolts of it, that takes a lot, man. Not everyone can do that. So I commend you very highly for that.
Well, I appreciate this, Chris. Your check's in the mail. To be honest with you, I've only had, out of all these episodes we've done in the last year and a half, there's only been maybe 1 or 2 hiccups where it's been a little weird, and that's to be expected. Just because guys are in bands or people are in bands, they're the front people a lot of the time that I talk to, they're not always the alpha male or female. Sometimes they just are awkward, and it's hard to talk to people. Luckily for me, most people have been very engaging and easy, but there has been a couple hiccups, but I'm glad there hasn't been any more than that.
Yeah, but I like what we're doing. I'm glad we're going to keep on doing it into the new year and onward and upward, and I'm excited for what we have coming in the new year too, man. But hey, I'm focusing on the moment now. We are in the thick of the season. 'Tis the season, man.
'Tis the season. We hope each and every one of you out there are safe, happy, and most importantly, sane this time of the year. We'll see you next week. I want to thank this week's guest, Mr. Shawn Harris from The Matches.
I don't think it overstates things to say that the Beatles were the greatest gift to entertainment and culture of our time, a secular religion, if you will, with their universal appeal and demonstrable impact on people's lives. I'm Robert Rodriguez, host of Something About the Beatles. With every episode, I speak with historians, musicians, artists, and Beatle witnesses, all in the service of fresh insights into the most joyous cultural entity the world has ever known. I hope you'll join me and listen to Something About the Beatles, now on Evergreen and wherever you get your podcasts.
The Helping Friendly Podcast explores the music and fan experience of Phish through interviews and deep dives on shows and tours. For more than 10 years, we've created insightful and fun discussions about our favorite band, and with the help of our guests and thematic series, we're still discovering new angles of appreciation for Phish. And when the band is on tour, we provide a review of every show the following day. As one of our listeners said, any Phish fans that enjoy meandering conversations and incredible insight on new and old Phish shows, this is for you. Highly recommend. It's not just about the band and the shows, it's about the journey getting there. Throughout 2024, we're going to be running down the top 25 Phish tours of all time, and that'll be interspersed with show reviews and regular episodes. Join us and check out the Helping Friendly Podcast wherever you get your podcasts.